There's a lie people love telling themselves. They say life changes when you get motivated, when you make a big decision, when you finally feel ready. That's straight up bullshit. Life changes in one moment only. The moment your eyes crack open in the morning. Not when you get out of bed, not when you brush your teeth, not when you step outside. The first 60 seconds decide everything. That's the real battlefield. And most people lose it without even realizing a fight ever happened. 400 years ago, a warrior figured this out the hard way. He didn't win because he was stronger or smarter. He won because he never lost the morning. And long after he was gone, that same truth would be passed down to someone who was completely stuck. Someone who wanted change, but never showed up for it. In the early 2000s, in California, there was a guy named Evan. Evan wasn't lazy, and that's what made it worse. He watched motivational videos, read self-help books, wrote goals in notebooks, and every single night he promised himself that tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow he'd wake up early. Tomorrow he'd train. Tomorrow he'd stop wasting his potential. And every single morning, the same thing happened. His eyes opened, his phone lit up, and his mind whispered, "Relax. 5 more minutes. You earned it." And every time, Evan folded. By noon, the day already felt ruined. By night, he was exhausted. And right before sleep, the promise came back again. Tomorrow, for real. 2 years disappeared like that. 2 years of almost changing. 2 years of restarting. 2 years of quitting before the day even began. Until one morning, something finally snapped. Evan went hiking on a trail outside town, not for fitness, not for discipline, just to clear his head. That's when he saw a man standing on a ridge, completely still. Not stretching, not meditating, just standing there, like time couldn't touch him. Evan watched for minutes. The man didn't move once. Then, without turning around, the man spoke and said, "If you're gonna stare, at least step out where I can see you." Evan froze, then stepped forward. When the man turned, Evan felt it immediately. Those eyes didn't blink like normal eyes. They looked settled, like they'd already accepted everything life could throw at them. "What do you want?" the man asked. Evan answered fast. "I want to be disciplined. I want to stop quitting." The man nodded slowly and said, "No, you want to feel disciplined. If you actually wanted it, you'd already be living like it." That hit harder than any insult ever could. Evan felt his chest tighten. The man continued, calm and cold. "You think your problem is motivation? It's not. Your problem is you lose the war before you even sit up in bed." The man pointed toward the ridge and said, "I'll be here every morning before sunrise. 90 days straight, you show up, I'll teach you. You miss once, don't come back." No hype, no encouragement, just facts. Evan didn't sleep that night. Fear kept him awake, but fear was better than regret. He dragged himself out of bed while it was still pitch black, every muscle begging him to quit. By the time he reached the ridge, the sky was just starting to lighten. The man was already there. "You're late," he said. Evan tried to explain. The man cut him off instantly. "Don't! Excuses are just lies wearing better clothes." That morning, Evan learned the first rule. Discipline isn't built with motivation. It's built with consequences. The man told him the truth Evan didn't want to hear. "You fail because nobody sees you fail." The next day, Evan was forced to make a public oath. Exact wake-up time, exact commitment, exact number of days. "If I skip, call me out." The fear was brutal, but that fear dragged him out of bed when motivation never could. Then came the next rule. "Your brain is a professional liar in the morning," the man said. Same wake-up time every single day, no matter what. Rain, sickness, zero sleep, bad mood. It didn't matter. No discussion. By day 18, Evan woke up before the alarm. Not excited, not motivated, just automatic. That's when it clicked. Next, Evan was taught a fixed routine. Same breathing, same stance, same movement order. No creativity, no freedom. "Freedom comes later," the man said. "First, you obey." By day 45, Evan didn't think anymore. His body just moved. One day, Evan got sick, barely able to stand. "You still show up," the man said. "Even if all you do is stand here for 10 seconds. No 0 days ever. Because the chain isn't about effort, it's about identity. The final lesson came last. You don't argue in the morning, the man said. You decide the night before. Evan rehearsed resistance in advance. He imagined the cold, the fatigue, the excuses, and answered them before they appeared. So when morning came, his body moved before his mind could speak. By day 90, mornings weren't hard anymore. They were silent. On day 100, Evan stood on the ridge alone. The man never showed up again. He didn't need to. Evan wasn't trying anymore. He just was. This isn't just a story. It's a mirror. You don't lose because you're weak. You lose because you negotiate. Kill the negotiation, control the morning, and everything else lines up. Not motivation, not hype. Identity. After day 100, Evan thought the hard part was over. That was the biggest mistake he could have made. Because the truth nobody talks about is this. Discipline is hardest right after it starts working. When your life begins to stabilize, when things feel quieter, when the pain eases just a little, that's when the mind tries to sneak back in. Not loud, not aggressive, calm, reasonable, dangerous. At first, Evan noticed small things. He woke up before the alarm without effort, but instead of moving instantly, there was a pause. Just half a second, a thought slipped in. You've earned this. You're solid now. Missing once won't matter. That thought scared him more than exhaustion ever had. It wasn't begging him to quit. It was telling him he'd already won. And that's how discipline actually dies. Not in chaos, but in comfort. One morning, the air was warmer than usual. No wind, no resistance. Evan stood at the ridge and felt something strange. Pride, not confidence, pride. The kind that makes you look back instead of forward. The kind that whispers, you're not like them anymore. And for the first time since the ceremony began, Evan shortened the routine. Just a little. He told himself it was fine. He still showed up. He still moved. But deep down, something felt off. The silence wasn't clean anymore. It felt heavy. That night, he couldn't sleep. His body was tired, but his mind was loud. Images of the old version of himself started creeping in. The guy who made excuses. The guy who negotiated. The guy who always said tomorrow. Evan realized something that hit him like a punch to the chest. Discipline doesn't erase who you were. It just keeps that version locked in a cage. And the moment you get careless, the door cracks open. The next morning, Evan woke up late. Not by hours, by 3 minutes. 3 damn minutes. But it felt like falling off a cliff. His chest tightened. His hands shook as he got dressed. The walk to the ridge felt heavier than it had in months. When he arrived, nobody was there. Just empty space and rising sun. That's when panic hit. Not because someone saw him fail, but because he saw it. Evan stood there, frozen. And for the first time in a long time, his mind started negotiating out loud. It's fine. You didn't really quit. Just reset. Start again tomorrow. That voice was smooth, convincing, familiar. And Evan realized this was the real test. Not waking up early. Not the routine. Not the grind. This moment right here, when the chain cracked and the mind rushed in to rewrite the story. So Evan did the only thing he could think of. He dropped to his knees in the dirt. He didn't perform the routine. He didn't move at all. He just stayed there, breathing, staring at the ground and said his oath out loud. No drama, no emotion, just facts. He stayed there for exactly 10 seconds. Then he stood up and left. The chain held, barely. From that day on, Evan understood something most people never do. Discipline isn't about never failing. It's about refusing to identify with failure. The moment you say, I failed, so I am a failure, you're done. But the moment you say, I slipped, and I still show up, you stay alive in the fight. Weeks passed, then months. The ridge became optional, but the ceremony didn't. Some mornings, Evan did it in hotel rooms. Some mornings in parking lots. Some mornings half asleep on cold floors. The form changed when it had to, but the chain never broke. And something else started happening. Evan stopped talking about discipline entirely. He stopped posting, stopped explaining, stopped defending his routine. He just lived it. People noticed. Co-workers said he was intense. Friends said he'd changed. Some drifted away. Others got weirdly hostile, throwing jokes that felt sharp instead of funny. Evan didn't argue. He understood now. When you stop negotiating with yourself, You become unbearable to people who live on excuses. Your existence becomes proof that they're lying to themselves. And people hate proof. One night, months later, Evan had a dream. He was back in his old bed, phone in hand, alarm ringing, staring at the ceiling. In the dream, he reached to turn it off. And right before his finger touched the screen, he woke up. Heart pounding, eyes wide open. No alarm, just darkness. He stood immediately. No thought, no emotion, no delay. And in that moment, he understood something deep in his bones. The war was never about mornings. Mornings were just where the war showed itself. Because the same rule applied everywhere now. Conversations.work. Training, promises. When something needed to be done, Evan didn't hype himself up. He didn't wait to feel ready. He didn't negotiate. He moved. And life started responding differently. Opportunities showed up. Respect showed up. Not because he chased them, but because consistency bends reality in ways motivation never can. One evening, standing alone after finishing the ceremony, Evan finally smiled. Not out of pride, but recognition. He wasn't disciplined anymore. Discipline was just a side effect. What he had built was identity. And identity doesn't ask how you feel. Identity doesn't care about comfort. Identity just executes. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and comment.